Hello guys, how are we doing? Modern Warfare 3 has been the best ranked play we've had in a very long time in modern Call of Duty. Now when I say modern day Call of Duty, I'm referring to the CDL era of COD, which spans from MW19 all the way up to this very game. So this is, in this segment, I'm sort of excluding games like Black Ops 2, which obviously had a really fun ranked play. World War 2, for those of you who played that, had probably my favourite ranked play of all time in Call of Duty. And I believe that's the best system we've ever had. But I'm excluding those. I'm literally just considering CDL era from MW19 to now. I'm going to be going through what I love about MW3 ranked play, and I'm also going to be going through what I believe could be better and what could be improved over obviously what we've got here. This is Season 6 gameplay. So even if you're not here for the discussion of whether or not this is the best ranked play or not, the gameplay isn't half bad either. Now, of course, I'm always interested to hear your opinions. Someone who plays ranked and pretty much purely comp COD, whether it's ranked or any like XP League or playing for money or things like that. That's pretty much all I do. I don't play Warzone. I don't really play pubs. So I want to hear different perspectives on multiplayer ranked play. What do you think? And obviously, if there's anything you really agree on or disagree on throughout this video as we go through things, drop it down in the comments below because I want to hear other perspectives. Now, before we get into what I love or hate about this game, let's remember what we've had since MW19. So in MW19, we didn't really even have a ranked. We had a competitive CDL playlist with comp rules and maps. It was essentially just a pubs gameplay. It was 5v5, and it was just competitive rule set with competitive maps on pubs. There was no rank, there was no grinding up, so therefore it was obviously crap. It was great. It was a good little warm-up for sort of like playing for money and things in the comp league, but there was no ranked in-game, so it was a bit rubbish. Now, Cold War had league play, not quite a ranked play, whose ranking system was okay. You played placement games and you got put into a ranked based on how you performed. You didn't have to grind SR. There was no visibility on what caused you to be a certain rank. It would essentially look at your performance in the past week, and then the next week when the rank reset, you'd be placed at wherever the game decided to put you. And that was based on a performance rating it gave you, which it didn't tell you. So similar to which we're going to touch on shortly, similar to what a hidden performance rating is now. That's sort of what it used to place you in Master, Advanced, Elite, Expert, I think they were called at the time. But obviously it wasn't very transparent. It was okay. Next, we had Vanguard. So this stepped it up a notch from Cold War. You had similar named ranks with the additions of a couple, including Challenger and Top 250 leaderboard, which gave the grinders something to try and really achieve and strive for. It also introduced SR, so you could actually visibly see how much skill rating you got when you ranked up, and that's what you sort of were going for. So you actually got told what SR you got at the end of the game, and you'd rank up obviously accordingly. Now you still have to play 5 placement matches at the start of each of the season to put you in a starter rank, and the reliability of these ranks it put you in and the accuracy of the SR left a lot to be decided, in my humble opinion, in this version of ranked play. The rewards were also pretty lackluster, plus the gameplay of Vanguard made it really boring and difficult to enjoy. Now, let's take it back to probably 2 years ago now, with MW2. That was after Vanguard, and this brought a completely new names to the rank. So it was no longer Challenger or Master. This is where you got Iridescent, Crimson, and it's the new ranks you love and play through today. It improved the SR system dramatically. It made your gain or loss in SR a little more logical. Weirdly, as I said earlier on, it used the hidden performance rating, which was used as the main driver of your rank in Cold War, as the premise of what SR it gave you. So you'd get more or less SR than your friend, depending on what your hidden performance rating was compared to them. You had a hidden performance rating higher than them based on how you played. You got more SR for the same performance in the game. So it was a little bit of a weird one, but it's a little bit more logical to what we had in Vanguard. Now, for the most part, people were achieving ranks and then being hard stuck where I believe they should be. I was playing people who, and by the end of the season, people were sort of, if you were playing people who were worse ranked than you, 99% of the time they were worse than you. Obviously, if they didn't grind it and they were just in that rank because they just didn't play enough, then that'd be different. But most of the time, it was putting people where they should have been, and they got stuck there where they should have been. We also saw an improvement in rewards and the top 250 leaderboard, but we had limited maps and a boring meta, and we also had a little bit of a reduced skill gap, and all of that combined left this game feeling a little bit empty at times. This game had a very large knowledge gap, which is good, but lacked a physical skill gap. Now we have MW3. Okay, this builds on everything I've just mentioned and what we liked from MW2. It had improved rewards. The rank stayed the same, which was a little dull, but it is what it is. The outside gain and loss at the end of each game, by the end of the life cycle, was pretty good. It was pretty accurate. Sorry, excuse me. And as I say, you got Harrz where you sort of belonged at that time in the season. Now, we also saw a bit of experimentation from Treyarch and Sledgehammer Games this year. We had new maps being tested, we had new guns being tested, and they were really transparent about why they decided to take certain guns out and leave certain guns in. And it's really quite nice that they did that, because we're at this point in the game's life cycle. You can choose more guns than you've ever been able to from a ranked Call of Duty, and giving you more choice to keep the game a bit fresh. We've also got the largest map pool ever from a ranked play, with the addition of some maps that the pros didn't even play, which obviously can be a good thing or a bad thing. And it also adds, on top of MW2, a movement skill gap and the introduction of covert sneakers, which, again, the game didn't have before, or at least in MW2. So again, it adds more of a skill gap. So it's just a more better game. Now, to summarize MW3, I like the rank system. It makes sense, and it leaves you at the rank you should be by the end of the season, as long as you played all seasons. The guns were satisfying and have a large options of guns to choose, without many of them being, other than maybe the two original meta guns, being too overpowered. You don't often see 8 Holgers or MTZs on the map. So that's obviously a good thing. It just adds versatility without the new guns they've added being really OP. Now, the new maps they've added are pretty much decent. So you had like Rio, Vista, and Six Star came halfway point in the game, and they were just a ton of fun. It made you realize how crap the original MW2 maps actually were, as in the original MW2, like Karachi Invasion and stuff like that. But yeah, that was obviously really good. We also got really good communication from the devs about any updates through rank this year. They were very open and transparent, which is obviously a big plus in my book. And the skill gap is probably just enough to be satisfying. You had a good TTK, time to kill, and really good movement mechanics too, although I would have loved to have a little bit of a bunny hop in there on this engine. It would have felt really nice. If we had Vanguard movement, it would have been perfect. Now, we've also got better rewards, so you can flex the rank you've achieved in the last season, etc., which you didn't have in Vanguard. And the rewards are better than they have been at any point, so I really like that. And we've also got a combat record as well, which I absolutely love. You can see what guns you perform best with, you can see what maps you don't perform well in, and you can see, I don't know, your KD, your skill per minute, and like, just for rank play, it's really nice. Now, moving on to the things I don't like. I don't know whether this will be longer than the things I liked, but I'm going to try and keep it short. The guns shoot too easily. First of all, there's barely any recoil to any guns, and all you have to do is pull down slightly, and you've pretty much smashed the recoil pattern. It's really quite simple. If you reach Iridescent, there's not much more to grind for if you don't have enough time, or you don't have a full stack to play to obtain top 250. So, for example, I fall into that bracket. I can reach Iridescent, but I don't play the game enough to get to that top 250 mark. You really need to grind to get that. So I'd love something more to strive for. Like we've got Crim 1, Crim 2, Crim 3. I'd love Eerie 1, Eerie 2, Eerie 3. So when I get to Iridescent, I'm like, okay, that's it. And I'm motivated to get to Iridescent 3 before I then, decide to not play as much. So yeah. The leaderboards are... So not the leaderboards, the combat record is crap. They lead a lot of data. Sorry, the leaderboards in-game, are crap. So when you press the scoreboard in-game, they're pretty crap, okay? They leave a lot of data to the extended overview. You can see for your own records, things like damage, accuracy, captures, would be good for the whole lobby to see, similar to what we had in Cold War. It'd be nice that you got to the end of the game and you could say, okay, they didn't get as many kills as me, but they got way more damage, so they must have just been the first entry. That sort of thing I feel like would be great to have on the scoreboard for the whole lobby to see, not just you when you press scoreboard and then R1 or right bumper. I feel like that'd be nice. Similarly, although we do have a combat record, which is obviously a really good thing, I would love to see a really detailed breakdown of each gun, map, mode, that you couldn't, like Valorant, for example, has a really solid combat record for ranked. Cold War had one better than this, and there's no reason why we should digress digress back to what we have been compared to what we had in Cold War. So I would love a bit more of a detailed, especially me, I'm a stats guy. I'd love to see more about how I performed in the game, and it can be split by season and things like that. That'd be really nice. Next thing is a little bit of a nitpick, but the rank names are getting a bit boring now. We've had them for a couple of years. I'd love to have fresh new ranks for people to grind, just so you're not grinding through the same name colored ranks this year again. Downside to this is obviously the lack of familiarity, I guess, but I think it'd freshen things up. I don't want to be grinding for iridescent again. I'd love something new to be the thing to grind for. And I don't mean top 250, I mean like a new name, like Vanguard had Challenger, Master was Cold War, something like that would be pretty cool. So yeah, next thing's a little bit of a gripe, and it's probably more personal because I don't tend to play in 4 stacks, but 4 stacks often dominate. If you're playing as a solo or duo queue, especially when you get to like the iridescent and when you start playing top 250s and iridescent 4 stacks, you really can come across some sweaty 4 stacks, which makes it really, really difficult to win. Now, what they have done better in this game is that you often play lower ranked 4 stacks. So say, for example, if I'm duo queuing with another iridescent, with the 4 stack we're playing against, are likely just to be 4 crimson 4 stacks. But that doesn't mean they're crap. It's just evens it out a little bit more, I guess. But I would love to see something like they had in World War II, where you could only duo queue, which gave the ranks people got more meaning because you couldn't just be carried by 3 really good players. Duo queue meant the ranks you were put in was a little bit more fair, and you weren't just relying on being carried or the comms of a 4-man to get to where you could do. So yeah, personally, that's a bit of probably a rogue opinion, but I'd love it just to be duo queue max. That, or do what they have in Halo Infinite, where you can solo and duo queue, and they have their own rank, so anyone who solo or duo queues has a separate rank, and then separate to that, you have everyone who trio or quad queues in that rank as well. Quad queues in that rank. So I'm not quite sure how Halo does it, but they seem to make it work, and I'd love for us to make it work in Call of Duty, just because if you are someone who only solo queues or duo queues, you've got a rank for that, and you don't have to come across 4 stacks, or at least you're ranked separately to people who do just grind 4 stacks. So I think that'd be really nice. Something we've had in the past in MW19, MW2 is a CDL mosh pit, where I moaned about this being the only thing in MW19 because it shouldn't have been the only thing in MW19. But it's essentially just, as I say, CDL maps, CDL rules, but there's no rank, so you can play with any rank you want. There's so many times my IRLs, my people I play with, like my friends from real life outside of Call of Duty, hop on and I want to play comp COD with them, and I can't because they're ranked a little bit too low. And I'd love to play with my friends who are maybe gold, plat, or even diamond in a competitive environment without, having to use a Smurf or something like that. I'd love to just hop onto a CDL mosh pit with my IRLs and we just play some fun comp pubs without having to go into actual pubs where you've got crossbows and shotguns and things like that. I think that'd be really nice, and I think people would play it. And then obviously the glaring issue this year, and it has been the glaring issue for a couple of years now, is cheaters are obviously a huge problem. There was a massive break from hackers, to be fair, in Crimson iridescent ranks at least halfway through Season 5, and since then it's been pretty good. Obviously there's going to be people who you can't blatantly see hacking, but they've reduced significantly the amount of people who are blatantly hacking. I'm talking like full-on aimbot or tracking through walls. So whatever they did mid-Season 5, I'd love for them to do that through Black Ops 6 because it worked. I can play in Crimson or Iridescent and not be phased by people cheating, or at least it's not as obvious. You get the odd game still, because obviously that happens, but it's nowhere near what it used to be, where it used to be every other game. So whatever they did to fix it Season 5, I'd love for that fix to be continued into Black Ops 6. So yeah, there's probably a lot I've missed. Gotta be honest, there's probably tons I've missed, and you're going to remind me of all of them, I'm sure, down below. But I don't just want to hear the negatives. I want to see what actually was good out of MW3. Do you agree with some of the things I said? And yeah, obviously, I said not just the negatives, but what would you improve? What would you like to see Black Ops 6 rank play do that MW3 didn't going into the new Call of Duty? So that's going to be it for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Ciao for now.